Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I am your co-host, Brandis Daniel.
I'm your co-host, Sibylla Muti, and we got a guest on the line that is ready to blow your mind, the founder of the On Purpose movement, our great girlfriend, Jovian Zayne.
Woo! What's up, my sisters? Hi.
Oh, this is so special. Oh my gosh. This is so special, Jovi. This is so appointed. This is so divine. This is so significant. Everyone just pull over, stop where you are, just lean on your sofa because this soothing experience is going to be brought to you by the founder of the On Purpose movement and the On Purpose queen, Jovian Zayne.
Oh,
that's all I want to say.
Oh, gosh. Well, introduce me anywhere you want to go, girl. Anywhere I am. You all set the table. I'm ready to eat.
Jovian. Let me tell you how I met Jovian. Jovian was busy on Instagram being so on purpose with her on purpose self, saying on purpose things. And I think I was scrolling, and somehow someone tagged me and said, hey, take a look at what this woman posted. And I looked at the one post. I cannot recall what it says. I have to dig in my DMs because that's where we found each other. And after I looked at the one post, I spent like 30 minutes liking on her page, just going through. And I was like, she's going to think I'm crazy because I'm just liking. She's gonna be like, who is this girl? So I had to DM her and say, hey, you guys see me liking and you said something significant and I really need to talk to you about what you said. So I legit asked for like a phone call. I said, can we hop on the phone?
Sure
and
did.
She said yes. She said yes.
Wow.
And we got on the phone and we had like this soothing sister moment where Jovian, I had a question in my head and Jovian's post answered it. And it was something about being on purpose and the timing of things. And after that, I had decided that Jovian was going in my right front pocket, the little square pocket on your jeans where you can't get nothing out of. I was like,
yes,
she's going in
the
there.
Polly Pocket girl.
That's it. That's the pocket. That's the pocket.
Oh,
and Jovian, you're just taking the world ablaze with the On Purpose movement. Like it legit has been. This last one, I just saw everyone all over social, people having all these grand experiences around the world. Can you tell our audience, Jovi, what On Purpose movement is all about?
Yes. Well, first, let me just say thank you all for welcoming me officially to the Great Girlfriends Cozy Corner as I think about it. Yes. I mean, you seriously, Brandis, Sybil, y'all represent home, I think, for just so many of us. Yeah, the two of you together, you're a representation of what I believe to be God's love in action and just how you've created a space, where we could explore ourselves, be vulnerable, see the best of ourselves, find connection, and just be in the way that I think, the philosopher Terrence talked about, I am human. I consider nothing that is human alien to me. Like the aspects that we get to hear in our stories from one another, it just reminds us of our deepest connections, which, getting back to purpose, I think, and my sister Rahel talks about this often, purpose is tied to community. And the more times we can find community in one another by exploring ourselves, our struggles, our pain, our joy, I think we are doing the very work that we were created to do, to see each other, not to observe, but to see each other, to be with one another. So the On Purpose movement is that in so many ways. I think, Sybil, hearing you talk about me, it brings such joy to my heart and helps me to show all my teeth in my mouth because it's really, like, straight up. I was out here, girl, chinning like a chester cat. It's really affirming to hear someone else talk about you in a really positive way, because Lord knows we get a lot of other messages that could be conflicting to that which would affirm our spirit. But you, in saying that, I think speak to what the On Purpose movement has been, which is frankly an organic movement that really started with me making a commitment to live life not by accident, but on and with purpose. And I think it has grown, and frankly, what it is just, it's a community experience. It is a gathering, whether that's online, in person. It is a lifestyle, like a verbal and outward lived lifestyle that shows your commitment to being intentional in how you show up on earth while you have time, a commitment to understanding, exploring your sense of purpose. And as you gather ideas and gather understandings around what that purpose looks like in different seasons, it's you making a commitment to living it out, and asking for support in doing that. It is banding together with people in doing that. And, formally, there are a number of different ways that take shape in the On Purpose movement. I mean, I do run a firm. It is called the On Purpose Movement. It's a personal and professional development firm, and there's two different arms. There's a community piece, and then there is the business piece, if you will, like the consulting arm. The consulting arm, that's when we in this group, my associates and partners in this, we work as executive coaches and trainers and facilitators and designers and public speakers, and we provide content and consulting and coaching to Fortune 100, 500 companies and other mission-driven organizations, and to individuals who are serious about exploring purpose and being held accountable to creating business priorities and strategic initiatives that align back to purpose. So it's everything around like management to diversity, equity, inclusion to like, we got to restructure our entire talent management pipeline. So that is a part of the work. And we do that because as partners, a lot of our background is in education or it's in human capital, which I can talk more about later. So that's one part of the On Purpose movement. And then the other part of the On Purpose movement is the community piece, which houses the International Day of Purpose, which I founded 4 years ago, which has been celebrated by millions of people around the world. And I just thought, like, how radical and amazing would it be in the same way that we celebrate like International Day of Women or Day of Peace or, what have you, where people stop and acknowledge the power of those days and do something differently or make new commitments. Like, what if everybody in the world, truly, y'all, was living on purpose? Like, not by accident, but took their purpose and their life seriously enough to do something differently. And every year I'm blown away by, what I see on social media and just like, wow. This year people wearing shirts and explaining more about what their purpose looks and feels like in their chapters, in the chapters of life. But I also get these, incredible stories where people are saying like, I wrote this letter to my friend reconciling after a fight we've had because I recognized that I wasn't being purposeful in my life in terms of how I was forgiving people. I hear people say they've gone back to the gym for the first time in years. People saying, I finally decided to redo my resume because I know the work that I'm in isn't connected to what I'm called to be doing. And so I'm being purposeful. Just, so many things. So, the day of purpose and the On Purpose movement is just a continual opportunities for people to be in community and support each other and being on purpose. So from workshops to conferences, we love to provide people support.
I love that. What I love that you said is like about living a life of purpose. And Great Girlfriends, we're actually recording this on the day that Toni Morrison has made her transition. And we were talking before we pressed the record button, we had a whole nother podcast episode.
We did.
And as Sybil was talking about, she said, what a life, like, well done. And kind of looking at her life and seeing that I really felt like she literally squeezed probably every bit of purpose out of her life, and so I just wanted to like reflect on that because we don't always get to see people who transition. So oftentimes we see people who transition and we're like, and I know that they could have done this with their life and that with their life, but it's a different type of feeling when someone transitions and that they have literally lived their life on purpose and they can walk away knowing they've done exactly what they were supposed to do on this earth. Jovi, I know a lot of our great girlfriends are asking, how do you know what your purpose is? And I'm sure they're asking that question as they hear this. I hear so much about purpose, but how do I know what my purpose is? Is that a question you get a lot? And how do you address that?
Oh, I do. I get it all the time. And I I really feel like for me, I've been challenged to explore that question differently as I've just decided to proudly wear the banner of attempting to be purposeful in how I live. And I'll be honest, because I feel like home, I can say this with you all for sure. Like I navigate between corporate spaces, nonprofit spaces, public government, whatever spaces. And the truth is, where I am with my understanding of purpose has always led me back to home, which for me is also spiritual. Like if anybody hears me now talk about purpose, I will tell you, I think it is so important to find a spiritual grounding that can help you to see yourself in spite of yourself. What I mean by that is, even when you think about the life of Toni Morrison, I agree with you, Brandis. I look at her and I think about the books that she wrote, The Bluest Eye and Beloved and all these things, that I think about the stance that she took and her commitment to not centering the white gaze, but the Black experience, and how hard that was when she was doing it, but how she made it look like it was with ease, right? And just, it seems like she squeezed every drop out of life. And I wonder, though, for her, how she would describe it. And if she would describe that she was on purpose every day, and how she would just explore. So when I talk about in spite of yourself, the spiritual grounding, what I recognize now when people are asking about purpose is, I say, find a spiritual grounding that reminds you that in spite of the fears, in spite of the insecurities, the human inadequacies that will rise up in the face of challenges, in spite of not knowing and all that, the spiritual grounding can call you back to who you've always been, and can remind you of the beautiful piece that, frankly, I think connects all of us as humans, which is that we were given permission to be who we are fully intended to be the moment we were born. And that permission gets stripped away over time as we are socialized in different practices that are not serving, I think, of a purpose that I think a creator would have longed for all of us to really live into, which is to see yourself and to see each other and to live and to honor one another. So I honestly, in my deepest truth, believe right now there's a purpose likely for all of humanity to see and honor one another. So I think for anyone's like, what's my purpose look like? First thing I would go back to is community and service. Like your life is yours, and yet it's not your own because you're not the only person living. You're just not. And I think that's a beautiful thing about us all being on earth together at the same time. Like we are different cohorts and different generations of ancestors becoming. And I wonder, well, what kind of ancestor are you becoming? What kind of next person are you becoming? Who are we living for in a way that would help someone else be lit up and to be inspired and to see themselves fully? And I think purpose is in that. Purpose is in how you serve. Other things I would tell people briefly, I use this concept of like the B's: burden, beliefs, and breadcrumbs. When people are like, what's my purpose? I think if you look at life, look at your experiences in life from the idea of these breadcrumbs, these moments you can go back and pick up where you felt most alive, you felt most seen, you felt most connected to something that you probably couldn't put your finger on, but like you just knew like, oh, no, I need to be in this space. It's a helpful breadcrumb. Pick it up, examine it. What was it? Where were you? What were you doing? What were the themes and trends? There's something in that. That's one. The other B is burden. Ooh, the burdens of your heart are unique. Like there's a reason why perhaps you could watch a commercial symbol and it just like take you out one day, girl. You're like, I can't take it. It just was like overwhelming to my spirit. Or, Brandis, why you started Harlem Fashion Row. Like there were experiences you had that led you to be completely and overwhelmingly burdened by the lack of representation that was in the fashion industry. Yeah, I could have recognized that same thing. There are a lot of other people who did, but they didn't honor the burden that was there. There was a reason why you honored that burden, because there's purpose in how you were supposed to show up and serve, right? So I think if people were to be more honest about taking the risk to honor the burden of our heart, I think we would see a new sense of actualized purpose. But unfortunately, we let a lot of, unfortunately, we let a lot of fear, whether it's like because we want to be liked by other people or be like other people, or, you know, it could be, financial constraints, whatever. But we let a lot of other quote unquote tangible things stop us from honoring the burden. But the purpose is in the burden. That's what I've noticed. And then it really
That's
is.
So true.
And then the other, lastly, I would say beliefs. And this goes to the spiritual grounding, but I think there are, we should constantly examine our beliefs. What are the things that we're staking claim to and we're saying? Because those beliefs tie back to the values that we hold. And our values influence how we live, what resources where do we spend our money, our time, effort, all of that. And I believe purpose should be lived out in how you honor the values that you hold most dear. So for me, it's faith. And, like during my chapter right now, faith, family, and purpose, and authenticity and justice are values that I cannot let go of. So I spend my time, my energy, and money, and all kind of other resources in those ways to honor them. And they help me to feel like I'm on purpose in my life.
Yeah. That's so good, Jovian. What I'm hearing you say the whole time you were talking, I'm hearing you speak about, a person who lives life as a vessel. And as a vessel, all of these values funnel through you. And they funnel through you because you've opened yourself as a passageway by which purpose can exist and contribute to the larger world. And it's so powerful because I think so many times people, when they ask the question about living on purpose, they're looking for the pleasure of it, or what is the thing that they want the pleasure.
Don't
they
make
want
me hang up.
The perks and benefits of purpose, without understanding that in that flow comes a pressure, a pushing. It comes a sacrifice.
Right.
It comes, like you said, burden. There's power in burden because, like you mentioned, Harlem Fashion Row for Brandis, she was empowered by the burden. For you, you're empowered by the burden. For me, I'm empowered by the burden. And I love that because, great girlfriends, I hear Jovian reminding us to not be so, to not look for the gloss of it. Don't look for the gloss. Don't look for the glamour of purpose. Look for the passageway. Look for the burden part, because the burden, that pressure will push you through to a place where you can experience liberation to speak and articulate and live in purpose very fluidly. But I know, Jovian, when you started this, it wasn't like, these are my B's. This is my purpose. No. I think, so you
girl, please.
Because you have to sacrifice yourself. It's not easy. It's like you sacrifice yourself and you gain yourself at the same time, right? It's an exchange. So talk a little bit about that beginning point where you're saying to yourself, okay, I feel the burden, and I think I'm ready to articulate it, but I got to push past me.
Oh my gosh. So this is, I don't think I've actually told this story out loud before, but I'm home, great girlfriend, cozy corner. So I literally am, I'm like laying in the fetal talking. So let me tell y'all, this was 2015. I was in the height of my career at Teach for America, or I was ascending even more. I had done, prior to Teach for America, I had a career in marketing at Black & Decker for a number of years, and where all, externally, people would think I was doing fantastically. I mean, I've been promoted 3 times in 3 years. So I'm just moving and shaking. And then prior to that, I started in nonprofit space, et cetera. But what I knew was that at the point where I was at Teach for America, I actually was too comfortable. I was I'd found home there for just in lots of different ways. But I was, as my mentors would say, and I know my mom and dad talked to me about this, I'm too comfortable in a way that I'm not taking risks and I feel like I would use the word learned versus learning. So when you got to a place where you think you've learned versus
we felt that.
Right. Like it is. Just imagine if everybody started to adopt like the mindset of constantly learning. Like I'm learning, not I've learned already, but I'm learning. It's just a lot more humility that comes with that, and it keeps you on your toes and stretches you. So I needed to get to a place of learning, and through lots of wonderful circumstances, I was being approached with different opportunities to consider, and ultimately knew that, yes, I was going to leave the organization, and the organization was also going through significant change. So timing was just right, but it was tough. It was really tough. I'd been through org changes before. I'd been let go of, from a job before. I left jobs before. But at this point, it was scary in that here's what ended up happening. I left Teach for America with what I assumed would be lots of job offers coming my way, because it always happens. Well, I shouldn't say always, but it was happening in my case where people have been reaching out like, oh, girl, we're creating this role for you. Or like they've been trying to poach me for a long time. And once I get in the interview process, I make it to the final round or, whatever. But then the job would disappear. The funding would be gone, or the role would be filled, or would go away. I was just like, okay, what's going on here? As I look up, though, I'm also, at the same time as I'm interviewing other places, because I just thought it was time to go to a new environment to be stretched. But as I'm interviewing other places, I'm also being kind of tapped, and people are like, oh, I heard you just left. We've got this project. Are you doing any consulting? Like, would you mind coming and doing a training for us? Can you speak for us? Whatever. Are you coaching now? Whatever. So I'm taking on little projects just to stay fresh. And lo and behold, I look up and I'm like, Lord, I'm doing a whole lot more work on the side than I thought. I'd always kept a little side hustle, but this was being stretched, right? Also, what was happening at the same time was I'd been given an opportunity to write a chapter in a book, an anthology on leadership. And it was an incredible, it's called Lessons in Leadership. It's being sold on my site now. It was an incredible experience. And this is all simultaneously happening. Remember, y'all, I'm still interviewing, right? Thinking I'm about to go to another big brand or company or whatever. But nothing is still working out, but I'm still taking on little projects. I had dinner with some of my good friends, and I told them how I was feeling like, and at this point, I'd been told people about like my own personal commitment to living on purpose. I'd written that back on like 2010 on Facebook, like I'm living life on purpose. And I made lots of different changes in my life to do so, from health-wise to work-wise. But at this point in my career, I was feeling like, I know how I want to spend my time. I know I'm supposed to be showing up, but where? Like, where, God? Like, where do I need to land? I did not feel like I was incubated anywhere. And this was a lesson for me.
You and the vocabulary, honey.
Honestly, I didn't feel it. And it was a lesson for me, Brandis and Sybil, that like your purpose is bigger than any job. Like the purpose for any assignment is bigger for any job. And what God was calling me into, honestly, and I did not know until I looked back, was like full dependence on Him for every supply of my needs. So like spiritually, I had to be, I needed to have the rug pulled out from under me. So one, my ego would stay in check. Two, so I would literally be looking to my spiritual grounding as like the support for the journey ahead, which I didn't even know I had no idea where I was going. And I needed to be so clear around what I was called into that I could see how I could do it no matter the environment that I was around me. So whether I was stuck in the elevator, was I still going to show up as Jovian on purpose? Or whether I was in a boardroom, if I was coaching this person or speaking on this stage, like, would I still show up as a Jovian who would, at her core, encourage the human spirit? Like that, and I became so clear that that's my call. Back to me writing that chapter in the book, y'all. I'm writing this chapter on like leadership and impact while I'm still trying to find my next job, taking on these little side projects. And my friends convinced me, like they helped me to see, which is why it's so important. And y'all know this because you're part of mine and you got extensions of it everywhere. But like your council, your tribe, your village is so critical because they can help you see what you can't in yourself, right? I didn't fully see how I was still showing up in a really powerful way. But my friends over dinner one night were like, girl, this chapter in this book you're writing, it's amazing. And we need to celebrate it. And I was like, really? Like, and they're like, yeah, you left your job. Like, this is a new chapter. Like, let's celebrate. Next thing you know, me writing a chapter in the book turned into a book launch. And, right. Like I'd written this whole book, but it was just a chapter. But I had this incredible village that showed up for me. And what my friends helped me to see was, oh, Jovian, this is symbolic. You've written a chapter because you're turning the page in a chapter in your life. And at that point, yes. And at that point, it was like, you're saying yes. Listen, like you're saying yes to stepping into business. Like, oh my gosh. Like I've got all these clients. Like I made it. I realized I was making a commitment to do what was in front of me. Like I'm saying yes to what is here. If other things come, they may come. But for right now, I'm apparently supposed to be on purpose with all these different types of industries in these different ways, which are all like very clearly aligned. Someone in the audience that night at the book, I learned this later, months later. But a friend told me how someone in the audience, and I don't know who they were, said they realized I had just written a chapter and not the whole book. And someone was like, oh, wait, she didn't write a whole book, just a chapter? Wow, but she's still celebrating. That's something. And said it in a kind of, apparently said in a way it was like, you know, you can take it however you want. And when I heard it, it could have been a crushing of the spirit. It could have been like a, who do you think you are kind of thing, which we're questioned so often. But I think about that now, and I think about the audacity of my friends to believe in the dream and to see me where I was, and how it is so important to always have the audacity to believe and to celebrate you where you are. You got to bloom where you're planted, shine where you're planted. That night, literally December 7th, 2015, the On Purpose movement in the way it's formed now was born. Because after that night, after Tiffany Dufu introduced me, and, you know, the 150 people in that room got books and buttons and everything was on purpose. Like all night, the next 2 weeks, like people, child, everything, shine on purpose, lit on purpose, read on purpose, drink on, it was boom, 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 boom. And the day of purpose took off. And it just, so, you know, it wasn't easy. It was ugly. I was doubting myself. I wasn't sure. I had to have people that affirmed and said, no, girl, just do it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, this is what, this was the beautiful part. This is what we're doing. I had friends who wouldn't let me think this is what you're doing.
Yes.
This is what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
yes. You know, I think about that because I think about Toni Morrison, this quote she has, and this is, I know we got to close, but she says in this quote, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. And I remember reading that quote like years ago when I was afraid to step into my vesselship. And I was like, but I think in our lives, in our legacy, we take ownership of a name or a word or something that is so significant. And Jovian, you have taken ownership of the word purpose. I mean, when I think the word purpose, like it's like you do a percolate across my brain. I'm like, and when I sweat check, when I'm in the gym, I'm like, there's something dancing across my brain. So when in Brandis, when I think about diversity in fashion, and I see Brandis like doing some kind of body roll, absolutely, sure do. Yeah, and my word is connection. Like I live for connection, and I want to see the bridges built for people. And I think, great girlfriends, one of the values of this episode that just stands out so significantly for me is that we are living our legacy now, every single day, right? Every single move. Every conversation, every bit of intention that we use each day. And we have to be willing to represent, take ownership of at least one word. Like if I take ownership of that word every day, you understand the power of the legacy that we leave behind or that we pay forward. And you ask the question, what type of ancestor will you be? Oh my God, what a powerful question. What a powerful question, because it leads you to think about what kind of trail are we blazing for the next woman, the next generation, the next child, you know, not even your own child, other children and other people who need to be lifted. And so Jovi, just can't thank you enough, you know, for coming home and and sharing with us today, because every time I just feel like I get the lotion, the balm that I need every time we get a chance to have these conversations. And Brandis is over there ready to take a nap. I feel it. She is like, she's done. She's done.
No, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I think this and you, Jovi, and I feel like, you know, there needs to be multiple parts with Jovi because there's so much she has to share.
I know. Yes.
But I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, because I'm in my own space right now of really having to shift. And there's a few things that I've seen today that have just like jolted me. And I'm like, what? And I realized that no matter even how successful we think we are, or even big companies think we are, you have to remain on purpose. And part of that remaining on purpose means that you have to be willing to shift, change, start new things, do it over, you know, do it a different way. And when you, and if you don't, you run the risk of the whole thing dying. Like it's almost too risky not to live on purpose. So that's what I'm over here. I'm just digesting.
I know. It sounds like you had a good meal. Yes.
I had a great meal. I would, Joey, if you could close us with like 3 ways, practical things our great girlfriends can do right after they listen to this episode to start living on purpose.
Love that. Because I love to inspire and then give you some specific things to try out. So one thing is a mindset practice. So I offer everyone a mindset practice of when you are afraid to do something new. You're unsure about if I should do this or not, whether it's like, be vulnerable in this conversation or, try this new routine or what have you. I invite you to try, literally, the mindset of trying on. Just like we go to a dressing room, we try on clothes and we see if it's going to work or not, or we take it home for a little bit, wear it around the house with the heels we're going to put on. We try it on. Adopt the mindset shift of the try-on, so the shopper, if you will, and see if that invites you into taking risks with delicacy and with care and with strategy that helps you to do things you wouldn't normally have done. So if you just consider, I'm going to try this on for the next week, then it could be a way, it gives you an invitation to do something you wouldn't have normally done and to really, give yourself a set of data to examine, like, was this different? What works with different? So that's one thing, the try on, the shopper mindset. Secondly, you can go to dayofpurpose.org and you can download the Purpose Packet. And it is just a helpful resource and workbook that's free, that's got exercises and lots of generative questions to help you think about purpose in lots of different ways. So that is free and a gift to you. That was created with myself and a number of my other incredible partners like Jen Mayer Sandoval and Alice Chen. Designed by,
is it called Day of Purpose?
Dayofpurpose.org. And you'll see the Purpose Packet.
.org, y'all. Don't put .com.
.org. Don't do .com, .org. Yep. And then last thing I would say, oh my goodness, body. Your body is your temple. I've grappled with this often, but I certainly know it is very difficult to be living on purpose when you ain't taking care of your body. So I invite everybody who's listening right now, because no matter where you are in your journey with your health, to double down on it. And you can do that by joining us online where when we're working out or eating appropriately for our body, we hashtag sweat check or meal check. And that's just you checking in, letting other people know, letting the world know that you've honored yourself that day by intentionally sweating or intentionally putting the right things in your body to help you to stay alive and generative in the way that your purpose demands and asks you to do. So those are my three things for people.
Jovi, thank you so very much. Where can they find you on social media, Jovi?
Yes, come on over to the Purpose Party. Jovian Zayne. That's where I am online everywhere. So website, jovianzayne.com, on Instagram, Facebook, whenever I am on Facebook, which is never, but Twitter, Jovian Zayne, which is Jovian Zayne, Zayne. So come on over. We have a good time.
I can't wait. I can't wait till the chapter turns into a book, Jovi. We're waiting.
Yes.
Yeah, you know,
girl.
It's coming. The more I have to I say that out loud, I acknowledge it. It is coming. God is, he's working on me over here, y'all. It's a process. It's a process, but it's coming. Hold me accountable because there are chapters that are supposed to be written. So I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I love
it. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jovi, for joining us today. Thank you, great girlfriends, for tuning in. And do us a favor, because I believe it's time for our world to be ignited with purpose. So I'm just going to ask that everyone forward this out to at least 5 friends and get them listening and activated, because I want to see next year's On Purpose movement. You know, I heard you say millions of people were tuned in. So I want to see if we can double that number.
Yes. Come on. You know? Yes. I love it. I love it.
We could not end this podcast without thanking our amazing husbands.
Yes, thank you, Kwaku.
And thank you so much, Rich Daniel.
And our beautiful children, thank you, Sam and Dylan.
And thank you, Miss Sky Daniel.
And thank you to all of you great girlfriends for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter.
You can check us out on our social, on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_Great GFS,
and on Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends.
And please make sure that you join our Facebook group, which is over 16,000 women strong.
Absolutely. And make sure you listen every single Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Bean, Podcast Republic, Google Play, and every other podcasting service.
Absolutely.
Be sure to post your questions, share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're signing off.
Peace.
Peace.